The metallic taste of betrayal filled my mouth as I stared at my phone, the screen's cold light illuminating the otherwise empty restaurant. The reservation list showed 20 confirmed guests from my family, parents, siblings, cousins, but 3 hours after opening, not a single chair had been filled. The carefully arranged table settings remained untouched, each fork and knife precisely where I'd placed them hours earlier. I refreshed my social media feed one more time, my finger trembling slightly against the glass. There it was. My brother Aaron's latest post, promotion celebration in full swing. The photo showed my entire family crowded together in my parents' backyard, raising glasses beneath string lights. My mother's arm was draped around Aaron's shoulder. My father stood proudly at the grill. Even my cousins who had promised to be my first customers were there, laughing in the background. The handwritten menus I'd spent nights perfecting seemed to mock me now, each dish carefully crafted with a family member in mind: Dad's favorite roasted salmon, Mom's beloved lemon tart, Aaron's preferred truffle risotto. The playlist I'd curated, songs from our family road trips, continued to play softly in the background, a soundtrack to abandonment. My name is Nicole. I'm 31 and a chef. This is the story of how I reclaimed my place at the table by removing those who never deserved to be seated. The restaurant had been my dream for as long as I could remember. While other kids played with toys, I experimented with flavors in my mother's kitchen. When Aaron pursued business school, my parents funded his education without question. When I mentioned culinary school, they suggested community college courses instead. Cooking is a hobby, Nicole, not a career, my father would say, as if declaring a universal truth. Despite their doubts, I'd persisted. I worked double shifts at 3 different restaurants, saving every penny. I studied under renowned chefs who recognized what my family couldn't see: raw talent that needed nurturing. I developed recipes late into the night after exhausting shifts, perfecting techniques until my hands cramped. When I finally secured a loan for my own place, my parents seemed impressed, temporarily. "That's wonderful, honey," my mother had said, her voice tinged with surprise. "We always knew you were stubborn. Not talented. Not visionary. Stubborn." I'd invited them to every milestone: the lease signing, the kitchen installation, the menu tasting. Each time, something more important had come up. Dad's golf tournament, Mom's book club, Aaron's networking event. But they had promised, all of them, that they would be there on opening night. As I wiped down the untouched tables, my phone buzzed with a message from my father. "We need to talk about the restaurant." Not an apology. Not an explanation. A business discussion. I stood in the center of my empty dream, surrounded by the evidence of their absence, and made a decision. My fingers moved across the screen, typing words that would change everything. The restaurant is now permanently closed to family. No reservations, no discounts, no exceptions. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Missed calls from Mom. Text messages from Dad. Voicemails from Aaron. I silenced them all and continued cleaning, a strange calm settling over me. The knock at the back door came just as I was locking up. Aaron stood there, still wearing his promotion party clothes, a container in his hands. "Brought you some cake," he said, flashing the smile that had always gotten him out of trouble. "Didn't think you'd actually be here this late." I remained in the doorway, neither inviting him in nor stepping out. "You didn't think I'd be working at my own restaurant? On opening night?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Look, NIC, it wasn't personal. Dad said it was just a soft opening, not the real thing." "I sent hand-delivered invitations, Aaron. I called Mom 3 times yesterday. I made Dad's favorite bourbon sauce from scratch." My voice remained steady, betraying none of the hurt that had settled in my chest. "People got busy," he shrugged. "It happens." "No," I replied. "People got comfortable. They thought I'd always be Plan B." His expression changed, the casual dismissal replaced with something more calculating. "Dad wants to help now. He's thinking of investing." And there it was, the real reason for his visit. Not concern for my feelings. Not regret for their absence. Business opportunity. Now that the hard part was done, now that the risk was taken, my family wanted a slice. Tell Dad the restaurant's fully funded, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. And the investors bought exclusive rights to my loyalty. What does that even mean? Aaron asked, confusion creasing his brow. It means you missed your reservation, and I don't serve leftovers. I closed the door, locked it, and watched through the small window as Aaron stood there for a moment before turning away. Something had shifted permanently, like a bone that breaks and heals stronger but in a different position. The next morning, I changed all my locks, not just at the restaurant but at my apartment too. 4 years, I'd been the family storage unit, crash pad, and emergency fund. Nicole, we need to keep these boxes at your place just for a few weeks. Nicole, can I borrow your car until Thursday? Nicole, do you have $500 I can use until payday? I'd always said yes, believing that being useful made me valuable. That being needed was the same as being loved. But love shows up. Love arrives on time. Love doesn't wait to see if something succeeds before claiming ownership. I made my boundary official with a sign on the restaurant door. Due to overwhelming demand, we are now reservations only. No walk-ins accepted, even if we share DNA. By noon, local food bloggers had shared photos of the sign. By evening, it had gone viral. My phone continued to buzz with family messages, but now there were other notifications too: reservation requests, interview inquiries, and messages of support from strangers who recognized something in my story. This woman is my hero, one comment read. Tell Aaron to choke on some humble pie, said another. The validation was intoxicating after years of minimization. My mother's voicemail came that evening. Nicole, this is childish. We are family. We made one mistake, and this public tantrum is embarrassing us all. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the door to my first real customers, a couple from Minnesota who had cancelled their reservation at a Michelin-starred restaurant to eat at mine instead. We saw your post, the woman explained. Anyone who stands up for themselves like that must cook with passion. As I led them to their table, I caught my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. I didn't look bitter or angry. I looked decisive. And behind me, my restaurant, my vision, hummed with the energy I'd always imagined. Clinking glasses, appreciative murmurs, the sound of dreams being tasted. 3 days later, my father appeared at my apartment door. Not at the restaurant. He wouldn't risk the public setting or another viral moment. He stood in the hallway, his suit slightly rumpled, his posture rigid with unaccustomed uncertainty. Nicole, open up. Let's be adults about this, he called through the door. I watched him through the peephole, this man who had always been larger than life now looking somehow diminished. I opened the door but remained in the doorway. You want to talk? Talk here. He sighed, the sound heavy with impatience. This is ridiculous. We are not enemies. No, I agreed. Enemies pay attention to each other. His jaw tightened. Your mother is upset. Aaron's confused. We all are. About what exactly? That I noticed when you didn't show up, or that I did something about it? I was going to help you, he said, his voice quieter now. I was looking into financing options. You mean you wanted equity? I translated. Control. His face hardened. Don't be paranoid. I reached behind the door for the manila envelope I'd prepared. Here are the loan documents, the deed, and the business license. The restaurant is solely in my name. The LLC, the recipes, the concept, all mine. He blinked rapidly. You got a lawyer? I got a team, I replied. It's amazing what happens when you stop waiting for permission to shine. My father looked down at his shoes, expensive Italian leather that suddenly seemed out of place in my modest hallway. We just wanted you to succeed. No, I corrected him. You wanted me to succeed in ways that made sense to you. That didn't overshadow anyone else. That kept me grateful. Before leaving, he turned back once more. This will come back to bite you, Nicole. You're burning bridges. I nodded calmly. Then I guess I'll finally learn to swim. I closed the door, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the immediate urge to call him back, to apologize, to make peace at my own expense. My name, Nicole Barnes, was finally worth something on its own terms. That night, I received a text from Aaron. They're planning something. Be careful. I didn't flinch. Let them plan. So was I. The first sign came the next day, a negative review on Yelp. Then another. Then 6 more, all within an hour, each one suspiciously similar. Food was cold. Staff was rude. Owner glared at us the whole time. The only problem? None of those names appeared in my reservation system, and we had never served cold food. This was a coordinated attack, digital vandalism that wouldn't leave fingerprints, just poison. I didn't panic. I prepared. I called my lawyer, then reached out to one of my regular customers, a journalist who had previously written a piece titled "The Restaurant with Soul." "Someone's targeting you," she confirmed after reviewing the suspicious reviews. "Want to go on record?" I agreed without hesitation. By morning, her article was published, Behind the Apron: How Chef Nicole Barnes Fought Family Sabotage to Build Her Dream. It wasn't revenge, it was truth. The piece included screenshots, timestamps, contradictions, and even a quote from one of my servers who had witnessed my father threatening to buy out my lease if I didn't come to my senses. Public support flooded in. Imagine being this threatened by your daughter's success. Families like this don't create black sheep, they create warriors. She's not difficult, she's determined. That evening, a woman came into the restaurant and pressed a folded check into my hand. "My father did the same to my business," she whispered. "I'm tipping you $1,000 just for standing tall." I cried in the walk-in refrigerator that night, not from weakness, but from recognition. For once, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't alone. The next move wasn't mine. It was Olivia's, Aaron's fiancée. She appeared during closing hours, no reservation, just a nervous smile and a phone clutched tightly in her hand. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. "Please, just 5 minutes." I almost refused, but something in her expression, guilt, perhaps, or fear, made me pause. She sat across from me at the last table, fingers wrapped around a coffee cup I hadn't filled yet. "I didn't know," she began, her voice barely audible. "I didn't know how far they were going." I remained silent, waiting. "They created a WhatsApp group," she continued. "Your mom, Aaron, your Aunt Penny, even your cousin Ryan. They called it Project Reset. The plan was to pressure you into selling or force you to fail." I didn't react. Part of me had already suspected as much. "Aaron said they were just trying to bring you back to reality," Olivia explained, her voice cracking. "But after that article went viral, they turned on each other. Your mom blamed Aaron. Aaron blamed your dad. It's chaos now." I studied her carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" She looked ashamed. "Because they dragged me into it. And because I don't want to marry someone who treats his sister like this." She slid her phone across the table. Screenshots, messages, voice notes, evidence, names, dates, plans, all laid out in clinical detail. "If you want to go public with this, you have my permission," she said. I didn't respond immediately. Because revenge isn't about noise, it's about timing. And this wasn't about getting even, it was about getting free. "Thank you," I finally said. "You just gave me everything I needed." And I meant it. Sometimes the last card you need comes from someone who's ready to leave the table. The headlines hit at 8:37 the next morning. Chef Nicole Barnes's family caught plotting restaurant sabotage. Leaked messages confirm. I hadn't spoken to any press. I didn't need to. Olivia had leaked the messages herself with a simple caption: "I won't be marrying into this family." The reaction was immediate. Screenshots from the Project Reset group revealed the full extent of their plan. "She's too full of herself. Pull the plug on her supplier discount." Make her beg to come back. The public backlash was swift and merciless. Supporters flooded social media with #StandWithNicole. People who had remained silent before, old friends, former classmates, previous co-workers, suddenly found their voices. She was always carrying everyone else. They used her until she had nothing left to give. This is why she shines now. She fought alone. By noon, my reservation list was booked solid for 2 months. My landlord called to offer a 5-year lease extension with locked-in rates. "You're the pride of this street now," he said. At 2:43 p.m., Aaron texted, "I didn't know Mom saved those messages. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I was too busy prepping for dinner service, tasting sauces, arranging plates, living my dream while theirs unraveled. At 5 p.m., a woman in a crisp blazer entered the restaurant. "I'm from Food and Amp, Wine," she announced. "We are doing a feature called 10 Chefs Who Rose from the Ashes. You're our cover story." I blinked in surprise. "Cover?" She smiled. "You're not just a chef anymore. You're a statement." That night, after the last customer left and the kitchen was cleaned, I stood alone in the dining room, barefoot, a glass of wine in hand. The air felt different, lighter, cleaner, mine. Tomorrow, I would begin planning something even bigger, because the best revenge wasn't just surviving. It was succeeding beyond anyone's expectations while maintaining complete silence toward those who never believed in you. The invitation arrived exactly 1 year later, gold embossed and formal. "You are cordially invited to Aaron and Melanie's engagement celebration." I laughed. The same family that had once shut me out of celebrations was now asking me to join their carefully curated photo opportunity, likely hoping I'd post something positive to help rehabilitate their image. I placed the invitation in the shredder and opened my laptop to finalize a deal I'd been negotiating for months. Nicole's Table, my second location. This one would be in a historic building downtown. Exposed brick walls, rooftop herb garden, a kitchen twice the size of the first. I'd hired my staff from overlooked places, culinary school graduates with no connections, single parents rebuilding their lives, quiet visionaries who never got the chances they deserved. We built something that was more than a restaurant, a space where dignity was always on the menu. As I stood for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, a crowd gathered outside. The journalist who had written the first article about my family's betrayal was there, microphone in hand. "What would you say to your family now?" she asked. I smiled, soft but certain. "Nothing." They had asked for explanations, apologies, second chances. I gave them silence, because they never needed answers. They needed accountability. And I had nothing left to prove. Later that evening, I stood in my new kitchen, hands deep in dough, flour dusting my apron. My staff moved around me, the air filled with purpose and possibility. Then came the moment that marked a full circle. A woman walked in hesitantly, holding her daughter's hand. "We saw your story," she said. "My daughter wants to be a chef, but she's afraid she won't be good enough." I handed the girl a menu, still warm from the printer. "Tell her this, they said the same about me."